Township of North Huntington Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, August 16th, 2023 to order. The time is 7 p.m. Roll call, Manager Falk.
Commissioner Stump.
Here.
Commissioner Atwood.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Zona.
Here.
Commissioner Wingren Romano.
Here.
Commissioner Goss.
Here.
President Hagus.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the opening prayer by Pastor Michael Cole from Calvary Church.
Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight. God, I thank you for the opportunity to pray for this meeting. God, I thank you for the men and women that are standing before me. God, I thank you for the wisdom that you bestowed upon them. God, I ask tonight that they use that wisdom and discernment to make better decisions for this township. God, I pray as they have conversations and dialogue, God, that you help them better serve and care for this community. God, I pray for every first responder in this community. God, as they serve and protect and care for us, God, I ask that you keep them safe, you keep them healthy, you help them return home at night. And I pray for this school year. God, I ask for just your grace and your blessing to come upon this school year. God, for every minister, for every teacher, for every student. God, I ask that it be a successful, blessed school year all the way around. God, I thank you for the opportunity to just pray tonight, to lift this meeting up before you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. If any citizens would like to speak this evening, please sign the book on the podium. Thank you. Okay, the first citizen is James Keenan. Can you please just state your name and address for the record?
James Keenan, 700 Lager Road. I'm here over something that's been disturbing. I stood at the same spot once before and said something about it. After reading the article in the Norwin Star and talking to people, seeing these big awards that the township is paying for, should I call bad decisions or whatever, from some of these lawsuits. I stood here once before when that happened. It's here again, and it's the same, almost the same thing. I don't hold a grudge against the people that got it. They were made whole over mistakes that were made by our governing body here. And but I think we should hold the council financially responsible rather than the taxpayers footing the bill for the insurance, which the insurance by now has to be up based on claims. You get a lot of claims, anybody knows, even your car insurance goes up. And it kind of, a lot of this stuff, I think, some of this stuff seems to center around the police department or this executive session, which some people call the backroom politics. I'm beginning to see where it's happened, but I think we should hold some of these, our people here that are coming up with these decisions financially responsible rather than having the taxpayers foot the bill for what has gone on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next resident is Linda Whalen. Please state your name and address for the record.
Linda Whalen, 11181 Ridinger Park Road. I'm here about the lithium storage facility, and I have just 3 statements and maybe a question or 2. I said, I really truly fear for the safety of our groundwater. Reininger Park has very few people. Every last one of us has a well or a cistern. And I have a septic system. I'm the only one there. Everybody else is hooked up to the sewage. So what's going to happen how can they say that I'm going to be completely safe? And, and if they're going to drill a well, how's that going to affect my groundwater too? Am I going to start having water issues? So very concerned about that. I'm also wondering about the property values. Will they decrease? In the meeting, they said they weren't sure if they would decrease or not. But I know if I'm looking for a home, the last place I'm going to buy a house is next to a lithium battery facility, because the next thing, they approve these dry chemicals that they're safe. If it's a chemical, I doubt that it's safe. It just doesn't make sense to me. And then I've also read that these fires are very, very hard to put out. They need lots of water. Where's that coming from? Then they may need to burn out. So now you've got all this pollution going up into the atmosphere. And then, not to mention that it can cause irritation of the eyes and of the skin. So I'm starting to do a lot of research, and I will be back. So I just hope that I can get some of my friends that are getting on board, because this can't happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy Nybig, I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Would you state your name and address, please?
That was good. Jeremy Neidick, 11281 Ridinger Park Road. I'm here about the battery facility also. I mean, one question I have is how did it get passed without any of us even getting notified about it? I mean, that's one big one. And then like she said about the well, I don't have a well. I have a spring. So if something's like, they're up there and start messing around and it contaminates my water, I have a disabled son. It runs around my yard. And then the traffic. I mean, for the love of me, how did this even get passed when I was getting notified? Thank you.
Thank you. Next resident is Marcia Williams.
Hi, I'm Marcy Williams, and I live at 49 Soltis Drive. And these are other people that also live on Soltis Drive, and we're all here for the same reason. For those of you that don't know about Soltis Drive, we're right off of 30. It's a small cul-de-sac. It's made up of down two sides are townhomes, and around the bottom of the cul-de-sac are some homes. Not townhouses. Some of the homes are rentals, and all of the homes are owned by homeowners, but some of the townhouses are also owned, like myself, I own my townhouse, and some are rentals. I've been living there, I bought a home there in 2003, and we've never had any issues there at all. It is a great street to live on. The current landlord that owns some of the townhouse rentals has completely is monopolizing our street and changing the structure of our neighborhood. Most recently, what occurred is he decided that he was going to put a commercial dumpster in our neighborhood for garbage, and that the residents there cannot use our current waste management services. The dumpster has been a big issue. Waste management has been out multiple times. They're not okay with it because of the wires and their trucks trying to move the dumpster. And that's been an issue. But for us, my biggest concern is the back side of our street is Spitz's Auto. And we have a very bad raccoon problem. I spend probably $200 to $500 a year trying to get raccoons taken care of. I'm very concerned about this dumpster, which has been left open, and I feel that that's going to attract even more raccoons than we're already dealing with. And that my neighbors can speak to the issues that they've had. But we have a severe raccoon problem. And I've been in communication. I talk to Josh probably every year about the raccoon situation that we encounter. But I'm going to go ahead and let everyone else speak, but we're very concerned about what's happening to our neighborhood, and we feel like we have absolutely no control, and we feel that since we are homeowners, we should have some say in what's happening on our street.
Thank you. Would you please state your name and address also?
I'm Cosette Jurkovic, 70 Soltis Drive. I am one of the homeowners. I have the home on the right-hand side, right after the townhomes. The dumpster arrived in the second week of July. When it was brought by Waste Management, they knew where they were placing it was illegal. It wasn't allowed to be there. Mr. Agate was told that he would need to do something and move it. It has been, well, we're still waiting. The dumpster went 2 weeks without being emptied. It was overflowing. When they came yesterday to remove it and replace it with another empty one, maggots were pouring out of it, as was brown, disgusting something, and it smelled atrocious. Josh has been over there. Mr. Falk has been there. Waste Management has been there. He's supposed to put it in a different area, but we don't want it at all. I have lived there for 20 years. 5 of those townhomes are owned by individual people. They are privately owned. What gives one man the right to change our entire dynamic on our street? And we have no say. He has not put it in an enclosed facility. He can't even, when he cut down 2 trees today, he drug them to the back of their townhomes and just lied them there. He has, in addition to that, and he's been told about this, every time they come and do their lawn maintenance, they dump the grass right along the tree line between his and Mr. Scozio's land. He's been told about it. That is an invitation for mice, snakes, and in addition to the raccoons, we've seen rats. Again, this is unacceptable, and we want to go back. They all want to go back to their own individual waste management containers. Why does his problem of people supposedly not paying their garbage, which of course Waste Management doesn't even have the correct names on some of the individually rented units, that's part of the problem. His problem should not become the problem of homeowners on the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Would someone else like to speak?
Sure.
Please just state your name and address, please.
Nina Barkak, 58 Soltis. I'm actually one of the renters. I've been there 10 years. My husband's been there 13. This is just, I don't know how to explain this. The landlord, I want to say like a few months ago, came to me and said that the garbage wasn't in my name. Every time I tried to get the garbage in my name, I was told I wasn't able to because it was in still Scozio Family LP. I was never aware of this. Landlord sent me unpaid bills. I paid almost $1,000 and covered it. Even though it wasn't in my name, it was in Scozio's. I paid it, took care of it, and then he insisted that it had to be put in my name. I called Waste Management for months to get it into my name. Finally got it into my name and was told by Waste Management that the township and the landlord closed my account. I don't know how that's possible. I can't even close my electric because it's in my husband's name. So how did the township and the landlord close my account? I'd really like to know that answer. It is difficult for me to even use a dumpster I have multiple health problems. I cannot walk down to that dumpster. The cans were even a struggle, but it was convenient because I could get it from the door into the can. To try to haul it down the street, there's no way I can do that. The rodents, the smell. You walk out your door. I mean, a few of the neighbors, the dumpster's right in front of their door. And now he's removing screen doors. They open their door. What's to say something's not going to run in? Nothing. There's nothing there to stop it. He's making it look, seriously, if you want my opinion, removing those screen doors, putting that dumpster, it looks like the projects in McKeesport that we have here in North Huntington. I've lived in Markview Manor my whole life. Never saw something like this. It's horrible. I think is that it? I'll let someone else talk.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is
Hello.
Jill Batiste, and I live at 51 Soltis. And along with Marcy, we've spent close to thousands in raccoon, the destructiveness of the raccoons that we've had from Spitz's Auto. And now the dumpster is just sitting right, in fact, it's in one of the tenants' parking space. No matter how big the dumpster is, it's still going to overflow, and it already has. There's bugs crawling out of it. I saw raccoons yesterday. So they're already starting back up again. I don't think that's fair for the people. I've owned my place since 2007. I purchased my townhouse. So I just don't think it's fair that we have to agree to what this man is doing. I mean, he does contact all of our the homeowners too, and kind of enforces that if we ever want to sell, that he's going to buy it from us. It's almost like he's trying to push us out so he can just take over. But as far as the raccoon, it's just something I don't want to have to deal with. I mean, it was a very long 3 years of no sleep, and the noises they make, and the things we had to actually have fixed because of the raccoons. So.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rose Varela, and I live at 47 Soltis Lane. I've lived up there for 46 years. We've never had a dumpster up there. We've never had any problems until recently. But the last couple years, we have had raccoons, and it was very stressful trying to get rid of them. It costs money to get rid of them. And I'm just worried that, like they said, they've seen them, they're coming back, and it's right across from my driveway. I think it's a horrible sight, and I don't think it's needed. Thanks.
Thank
I'm
you.
her husband, Rick Varela, same address. Everybody hit pretty much the nail on the head there with all the concerns. The only other thing I mentioned, I didn't know about the maggots that someone saw the other day, but the smell, the birds, the animals, I got to question even the need of having that when everybody had their own garbage cans. And the other thing that kind of bugs me too is the recycling. They throw all that stuff right into one bin, the recycling and the garbage, and they're not recycling. I'm very adamant about that. I go out of my way a lot of times to recycle. It's just me, but they throw it all into one container. That to me is not right either. I got a question about what they also said about having the bill being taken over by the owner of the townhouses or the people that rent. I don't know how legal that was really able to be, to be done. I am an owner, so I'm not in that position, but I kind of wondered about that also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll respond at the end of our citizens' input. We have a few more citizens that want to speak, and then we'll respond. Thank you. Mary Ann O'Neill is the next resident.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mary Ann O'Neill, 13380 Ridge Road. Well, have you heard enough about waste management? I guess I'm not the only one yapping about it, huh? When are we going to get rid of them? When's our contract up? Soon, I hope. There's got to be another garbage picking company that we can pick. I've seen them do the same thing with the recycles, garbage in the truck, dump it, and then they go ahead with the recycles. On one occasion, they were doing their job, I suppose they thought. The recyclable was stuffed with cardboard, the lid was down, it wasn't sticking up, in the neighbor's can. They picked it up, went through all the motions with the wiggle arm, and they dumped it in, flaving around. It ain't coming out. He shook it, he knew it, he was shaking some more, nothing come out. He put the can down, he went on his way. Well, why? That's not doing your job. That's going through the motions. That's thinking you're doing your job. You're doing your job, his job is to empty the cans. They don't pick nothing up that flies out on the road. They just, you know, they need replaced, folks. The other question I have is about we got a new thing going on here. It's an ordinance somebody's trying to pass through. They want to tag people that are renting. They want the landlord to turn in who it is. Now, we got something in this country called a census. That's where they count heads. It wouldn't be my job if I owned a rental to count heads and turn it in. That's somebody's job that's in that department here, or the census. Go back to the census and read it. I don't know what to tell you. But a landlord shouldn't have to turn in the name of a person that they are renting to. That's somewhere's business here that we're not doing our job. It seems today in this world, a lot of people want to say they have a job, but they don't want to do it. So I don't know where that's coming from, but it isn't going to a good place. Now, we had an old ordinance from 1990. It was written up, and it really stinks. It sounds like something Hitler would draw up. And in the end, it was never enforced. So that's probably got an expiration date or a statute of limitations. And I'm guessing it wasn't enforced, maybe a legal thing. So if this is illegal, then the next move's illegal. Somebody needs to get off their butt. If they think a house is being rented, go knock on the door and ask the person their name. Then send them a per capita note for $10. Crunching the numbers, from what I can tell, and I'm no bean counter, but they're calling our amount of people that live in North Huntington 31,847 in the 2020 census. That's only 3 years ago. 5.6 of them are in poverty. Okay, so that's 1,783 people. So you're not going to get money off of them. They don't have it. They're worried about food. And even if you take the other 30,064 people and tag them with $10, you got, what, $300,000 there. If you're going to chase these 783 people, that's what, 117,000. But what are you going to do with that? Put it in somebody's pocket? We got a $5 million budget? What is 18? How many? 14.5. Thank you. 14.5. I stand corrected. What is $18,000 in 14.5? You can get that when you start chopping things that are extra. Let's use our heads here. Some of this is getting really ridiculous. I don't know if it's the next generation coming up. I'm 64 years old. I'm a dinosaur. I run on common sense. And none of this is hitting that. These people shouldn't have to chase raccoons off their car to get in it to go to work. That's stupid. How about rabies? Are you going to pay for the rabies shots? They live in our township. This is our house. It needs to be taken care of appropriately by our government. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The last resident signed up is Fred Crack.
Hello, Fred Crack, 10380 Center Highway. I've been here at a lot of meetings, and this is, I think, the first meeting that I'm coming with a smile on my face because I got something which benefits the township, particularly in Ryan's department and Rich's department. And it came to me by a little bit of the backdoor way. DEP, through Westmoreland Soil and Conservation, are kind of on a bit of a tear. And Ryan probably aware of this. They're actually looking at reissuing or redoing all DEP permits, NPDES permits in the whole state of Pennsylvania in 2024, which is going to be a bit of an impossible task. However, North Huntington is a particularly important area in this because everything that goes on, all the sewage projects in here, all the road projects in here, development projects, industrial, because we are, in the majority of all of North Huntington is serviced into the watershed of Tinker's Run. Tinker's Run is classified as a high-quality watershed. And the reason I'm here is actually I'm in the process of having to redo an NPDES. And Westmoreland Conservation District unofficially, let's put it like that, talked to me and said, we got a problem in that because a Tinker Run is a high-quality watershed, Westmoreland Conservation District cannot issue and review permits. They all have to go to Pittsburgh to DEP, where they get lost for 6-8 months at a turnaround. I'm sure Craig's seeing clients with these issues. And the reason that Soil and Conservation talked to me was they said they would welcome, and it particularly would be the higher power, and doesn't get any higher than the Board of Commissioners, a letter to DEP simply asking for a review of the status of Tinker's Run, because everybody in here knows Tinker's Run's anything but a high-quality watershed. And that's, any individual can do it, but obviously the status is important, because if Tinker's Run is reviewed and then not deemed high-quality watershed, all your projects in North Huntington, the sewage projects, the road projects, everything else will then be able to be reviewed by Greensburg through the Conservation District and not have to go to Pittsburgh to DEP. We're talking budget difference for anything you guys do. Every project you're going to be running, especially with the new MPDS regulations, you're going to be running into $30,000+ of engineering and about 8 months to 1 year and 2 months for your projects for sewage or anything. And these are anything. You know, they've changed the impact on the areas that qualify for this. So if it goes through Westmoreland Soil and Westmoreland Conservation District, for example, they said on the one I'm doing, we could turn it around in 90 days. Well, I'll take that with a pinch of salt. But basically, it cuts out the whole of the DEP revision time. So giving a long bit of an explanation there and coming to the commissioners to say if they would maybe discuss it with Rob Robinson and Ryan, and look at the possibility of writing a letter to DEP and saying, requesting a review of Tinker's Run for everybody's benefit. I mean, I'm kind of aging out of this, so you're not going to see much more of me with projects, but this is something that's only going to mushroom. When I started 40 years ago, the MPDS was a 2-page form, period. And now it's, we all know what's involved now. So anyway, that's my input. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Is there any other residents that would like to speak tonight that didn't sign the book? Okay, there is none, so we'll do the response to citizens' input. The first citizen spoke about legal decisions of the recent legal decisions of the township in executive session. Any pending legal issues we are not permitted to discuss. That is what we discuss in executive session, so we can't really get into any of that, Mr. Keenan, sorry. The next two residents spoke on Ridinger Park on a lithium battery facility, questioning safety issues and safety issues with fire, with the well water. I don't know, Ryan, is there anything you can add here about the safety issues? And especially, can you explain to them that this is just a preliminary approval and no work is going to be done on the site?
Yeah, it was preliminarily approved. I was unaware of any well that was going to be a part of the project. They're not drilling a water well or anything. They're going to do some excavating, but before that they have to do a geotechnical report, which that'll be part of the final approval, which they said if everything goes to plan, it could be 5 years away. 2028 they were looking at. So they still have a lot of legalities to work out with West Penn Power. And as far as notification, that the township is not required to notify surrounding property owners by a letter or anything with a land development. If there's a rezoning, we are required to notify the properties nearby of a rezoning. But as far as notice, we have a agenda that's posted on our website. So those items are on the agenda on the website for your viewing.
Unless I check the website every day, I don't know what's going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not going to mail you a letter if there's...
Originally, there was one house on it, it was 57 acres. I got a spring on the original house on it. It's over 100 years old. And you're gonna tell me that there's nothing. I mean, I have an
Excuse me, sir. Unfortunately, this isn't a go back and forth. No, that's okay. No, we're just trying to explain it as best we can. And I think, as Ryan said, that was for preliminary approval. If they want to get a permanent approval, they have to come back before this board, and that will be your time to come and speak at that time, okay? No, you don't have to apologize. Nope, no problem.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would we be able to have Bear Peak back for like a question and answer session? Or would that have to just take place at one of our next meetings?
I mean, we could always ask them, but I think they'd probably want to hold out until they're closer to the approval of the project. So when they're coming back through, I'm sure they'd be happy to get into the details with other questions.
Do you have a time frame? I mean, I myself have a ton of questions for them after doing research after they were here the first time. So I'd also like to ask them, and I'm sure a lot of the residents, especially of the 6th Ward, would
Yeah.
want to be present.
When I talked to Chris, the representative from Bear Peak, he did mention the 5-year window. So that's the last I heard. That's what I was anticipating. So unless something changes, I'm banking on the 2028.
Did he say when they were going to do the geotech?
No, I didn't get that information from him.
Okay.
Thank you. And again, to both of you residents, that's just a preliminary approval. There will not be any work being done on that property right now. They would have to come back before there's any work being done, and it would have to be approved, okay? Thank you.
Now, I
Go
have a
ahead.
question. Craig, years ago, I remember concern over preliminary approval versus regular approval. And I thought the deal was that once you issue a preliminary, that it kind of gives them weight to almost demand the regular approval when they do the project. And I remember specifically at one time, somebody in the legal field saying that when you're giving preliminary, it's basically the final two. So has that changed, or how is that now interpreted? And I agree with them about the lithium-ion battery fire runoff water, the dry chemicals. I actually stumbled upon a hazmat instruction at Hartford Heights Fire Hall on Saturday, and I sat in on it, and they were talking specifically about these battery, what do they call, best battery sites? Yeah. So it was a concern. So, Craig?
So, in both proceedings, you're creating a record. And obviously, the record starts at the preliminary plan approval and ultimately concludes at the final plan approval. And there's oftentimes at the preliminary approval where you ask your experts certain questions, and those answers are in the record. And if they give their expert opinion that, there's nothing in the ordinance that precludes the turning the plan down, unless you can find some reason that was an incorrect opinion, you're sort of bound by it. And I think that's what you're talking about, that's happened in the past. Anytime something's permitted as of right or permitted as a conditional use, if you meet the letter of the ordinance, this Board of Commissioners is bound to approve it. And if they deny it and it gets appealed to court, it's probably going to get overturned. And you build your case as it goes along. So you start to build your case at the preliminary plan approval, as Commissioner Gray indicated, and you end your case at the final plan approval. So if there's expert opinion testimony, such as your engineers or consultants from the other side that have established that it meets the letter of the ordinance, it's hard to overturn that at a later date. So the answer to yours is it's still interpreted the same way.
But were we at a disadvantage not knowing to have more experts there? Because since then, I've heard from people at the fire department that want to come and speak on it. So they kind of rushed it in before we were prepared, in my opinion, that's all.
I think those people still have the opportunity to come and offer their opinions. And if their opinions are different than the opinions of record, then if they're well-reasoned, I think that you can make a distinguishing finding.
Okay. Thank you.
I might add that when they were before the planning commission, I asked if they had done any checking for undermining, and I don't think that was even a consideration. So I think they still have a major hurdle with the geotech. And Ryan, you can tell me if you if that's, you disagree with that, but I think they have a major hurdle with the geotech.
Anything else from the board? And I would just say, I wouldn't consider them rushing that through and we weren't prepared. I mean, if someone on his board felt they weren't prepared to vote on that, they should have said that, or we could have tabled the motion or not even voted on it. So I mean, they came before us like they were legally supposed to do and we voted on it, so. Okay, the next 6 residents are from Soltis Drive and spoke about the new waste management dumpster that is causing a lot of issues. I'm going to let Manager Falk speak on that since he has been up to the site up there and he has spoken to a lot of you, so. Manager Falk?
So Josh and I met with Waste Management up there on Solstice Drive, where the dumpster was. The Waste Management couldn't service that dumpster because it was right below some utility lines. So they were moving it across the road to where the pine trees are. In great lengths of our discussion, the only thing that we can enforce is that dumpster has to be enclosed. It has to be built on a pad and then enclosed with the fence to hide it. That's the only thing that we can enforce. We can't enforce opinions. We can only enforce what's the ordinance is. It is an unfortunate situation of what occurred, of what the landlord is doing, transitioning from the totes to the dumpster. But Ryan, what is it zoned as?
Well, I guess I'm a little bit confused. Some of the folks said that they were owning those units on the individual lots, and those are zoned residential too. But the building, when you come in on the left, I believe it's a 4-unit townhouse. That's zoned commercial 1. And I think, yes, it is. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, the first building, the townhouse building that's on the left is zone C1. I was talking to the zoning. And that, I believe, is where the dumpster is located.
Or moved to the current.
They had staked it out and then,
I haven't been up there since they staked it out.
yeah, Josh and I went up there and it was right along a row of arborvitae.
So it is on commercial
Yes.
lot.
Yes, it is.
Okay. 1 second. Is that all, Manager Falk?
That is all that I have, that
Okay.
we investigated it. We talked about it. We met with Waste Management. They're going to change the dumpster to an ADA accessible dumpster that's supposed to keep animals out.
I have a question.
Yes.
So they alluded to the reason for the dumpster is because of certain people not paying their trash bill?
That is our understanding. That
I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, like,
from our
as a
understanding.
resident of North Huntington Township, everybody should have the carts and be paying their own individual bills. Like, that's crazy to me. And if I was a resident on that street, I'd have a really big problem with a dumpster being on my road. Like, I find that completely unacceptable. And I also find it weird that I didn't know anything about this. It's not my ward, but I think that it's weird that nothing was ever brought up to any of us unless I'm out in the dark. I think it's disgusting. And I'm appalled. And if every other resident had to get into this contract, everybody should have those carts, like it was a big deal, and the dumpster really needs to go. Like, that is unbelievable.
I was aware of this. I spoke with several of the residents, and I immediately contacted Harry and Josh, and they took over and went out to there and was dealing with it. My question is, some of those are rentals, and the gentleman that owns it is putting that dumpster. If you go to other apartment buildings in this township, there's dumpsters in apartment buildings. My question would be to, maybe to our solicitor, for the ones that own their townhomes out there, how can he force them to get rid of their service?
No.
They can keep theirs.
Oh, that isn't what I was led to believe. Okay, okay,
When Waste Management came to collect all the cans, they took
okay.
the owners. And if, and until he gets it where it needs to be, and they're moving it across the street, which is residential, that's where he's putting it. Across the street,
So-
residential.
So you're saying that Waste Management took the totes of the residents, not the renters, correct?
Okay.
We had to go
Okay.
and grab ours because they were taking ours.
Can we deal with that and talk to Waste Management?
Yes,
to
I
make
can
sure
talk
that
to
we-
this.
Excuse me, we're gonna get, Manager Falk is gonna reach out to Waste Management and make sure everyone that owns their property there will get their totes back and be allowed to use them. Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay,
If you don't mind, my question is, I bought a home there in a residential district. Because one person has a business where he's renting out homes, why does he get to put a commercial dumpster on the street, which we all are part of?
I think we are.
No one has my opinion, and no one has talked
Right.
to me, and I have called the township, and I've spoken to Josh, but no one has actually spoken to me.
And you keep telling us that he's putting it in an enclosure, and until that is in the enclosure, it should not be there at all.
And he doesn't, as far as my understanding is, he does not own the property where he's putting the dumpster. And that property where he's putting the dumpster, my understanding is that is the right of way where the fire trucks would go to get behind those apartment buildings if, God forbid, the apartments would get on fire or there would be a need to get an ambulance back there.
I think we all can agree that where the dumpster lies now on the road is not permissible. Is that correct?
It is, if it's not on the road, it's in a parking lot.
Okay. But is it in the parking spots where it originally was put?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So it's not on the roadway, it's on his property?
Yes.
But
It's in the parking lot. It's on parking spaces, correct? Yeah.
And it can't be on asphalt because it'll sink.
But where he wants to put it, my understanding is that is a right of way,
And it's also residential.
and it's
Okay.
residential.
It's on the corner, is it where, it's where he cut those trees down, I believe, correct? Yes.
And my understanding is that is the right of way.
Okay.
For ambulances and fire trucks to access the back of those apartment buildings.
Can we look into that?
I'm looking it up right now to see if we have it recorded right away.
Chief, can he be cited for that, for blocking? Can this gentleman be cited for that?
I have to go out there, we have to look at everything.
No.
This is very fluid right now. I'm not gonna commit to anything.
Can we
You've
get
got
you to-
property issues, you've got.
And right now, I don't think, correct me, I don't think it's blocking, it's in parking spots, correct? I mean, it's in a bad spot, I know that, but it's not blocking that roadway where it would,
It's not blocking the roadway, but where he wants to move it, where he took the trees down.
Right.
My question is, when was that area zoned commercial? Because my understanding is that it's residential.
And the zoning for commercial supposedly ends with the yellow house on 30 where his property line ends.
So, according to our GIS and data, there is no recorded easement that I can find where he wants to put the dumpster. And it is zoned C1 on both of those lots.
When was that zoning changed?
We'd have to look back through our files. We won't have that information tonight.
It's been commercial since at least 1991.
Ryan, Ryan, can you answer a question for me? how does this landlord get to put a dumpster down without having, and putting it in a parking space without getting a site plan approved? Because that's like a modification to the site, would it not be?
Yeah, I mean, as the owner of the property, it's a commercial property. He chose to change his trash delivery.
But he doesn't own all of those townhouses.
Right, which I don't, that doesn't make sense to me either. That's why I don't understand why the rest of you lost the cans for temporarily.
They brought the cans back,
But at
five
first,
townhouses are privately owned.
I don't know,
So-
Commissioner Stump, I'd have to look into this. I don't understand
My
the
recommendation is that
rental
we
agreements.
review it
and-
further. I mean, I do think that, usually if you're in a commercial area, you have the right to contract your own company as opposed to going with the company that performs a service for all the residentially zoned areas. So we do know that, but we have the question of where he's putting it, whether he's putting it in a residential right-of-way and things of that nature. As the chief says, it's fluid right now. And we're just going back and forth and nobody knows the answers right now. So we're gonna look at it a little bit more. If there's some violations that we can find, we'll go after them. And we'll just figure it out within the next few days and hopefully have a better answer for you next month.
I think it would make more sense if the entire building was rentals. But the fact that half of them are rentals and half of them are privately owned, how can he make that decision based on that whole building? Like, those people that own those units, not rent, should still have their own individual cans.
They do.
They do.
They do?
Yeah.
They do. They're their own parcel.
Right.
No,
That's their.
I agree
yeah.
with you. I think it's disgusting.
Okay, we're just,
100%.
we're just
Well,
going
we're
back
gonna-
and forth and back
yeah.
and forth right now. We're gonna look into it and hopefully come back to you all with some answers that satisfy you.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Can you come back up to the podium?
Come back up to the podium so it's on the record, please. And then,
What do we do now about the rodents, the raccoons that we have now, the crows, the maggots, the liquid that's coming from the bottom of even the new dumpster?
we're gonna come out and look at that dumpster and make sure
Yeah.
everything's
And
okay.
is there a way to just remove the dumpster period and for us to go back to?
We're gonna have to look into it and see how that's all zoned and the right of way as we were talking. So give us a few days. And actually, Marcia, I have your number. I'm gonna call you tomorrow and try to get with you guys and, okay? And we'll discuss it.
All right, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. We'll try to get some resolution here as best we can. Yes. Go ahead,
I do
Jason.
have one.
Go ahead.
I'm still concerned about the animal nuisance. Like, I mean, is that something we need to address with adjacent properties? Is there anything going on there that, I mean, has this been like a long reported thing that I just don't know about because it's not my backyard?
We'd have to talk to,
But, I think maybe we should
Yeah.
look at the animal nuisance as well.
We'll have Josh take a look at that, and I'm assuming that a lot of those rodents and raccoons are coming out of Spitz Auto back there, is where they're coming from.
We're not gonna go back and forth.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do that.
Okay. I'll be in touch with you, and then they're gonna look for some resolution here, okay? Thank you all.
Hey, just between us up on the board, I'd like to recommend, when does not health and welfare? Exactly. When does health and welfare not override ordinances that maybe should be rewritten to accommodate for the safety and the sanctity of life with health and welfare?
What about my property value?
Exactly.
Can we, when we're doing our research, can we talk to Spitz Auto if the raccoons are coming from there and ask them to lay down some bait or traps or what have you as well?
We'll have Josh go out and look and see if he can see what the extent of that problem is, the rodent problem. Okay, the next resident was Mary Ann O'Neill, and you spoke about the rental ordinance. Last week at our meeting, we did discuss that. That ordinance was from 1990. It is still in effect, however, it was just never being enforced. So we don't know. No one here on this board was around when that ordinance, at least not that I know of. Anyone up here was around when that was?
I suspect it was because it's illegal. I mean, there's gonna be a plethora of lawsuits to try to do this, because there's people
Well,
bigger than me and anyone in here, there's corporations that are.
All all the ordinance was doing was making landlords send a list of who they rent to, the names. No.
No.
If there was any changes, I read it, ma'am, I don't need to. If there was any changes, you send your new residents' names in. And as you see in this last complaint we just spoke of, Waste Management don't even know who's in some of those rentals there. They don't even have the correct address. Okay. Well, I'm just telling you what the reason behind that ordinance was. I don't know. I wasn't on the board, as I said. None of us were. However, moving forward, what we are doing is that ordinance is being updated. I mean, it's going to be the same ordinance. It's being cleaned up and retyped, and we're going to discuss it at next month's meeting. So, okay? Okay.
It's somebody's job here to go knock on doors and get names, say, okay, you're in this house, you got a one-year lease, you gotta tell us when you leave.
We don't have anybody here that does that job, ma'am.
Well, give it to them.
Your second complaint was on complaints with Waste Management. Are we still taking those complaints here, or do they call them directly to Waste Management? She said, ma'am, relax. This isn't go back and forth, okay? Let me speak. Thank you.
We do receive some of the complaints if they don't get through to Waste Management or don't get any resolution. They do call us. and
So
then we work.
I would just suggest to call up here to the townhouse and give them your complaints, and we'll try to get them taken care of.
I saw Mr. Falk today. I had
Okay.
a piece out there, it was up there for bulk, a small.
Okay.
Didn't get picked up. Kim called in, reported, she said to me this morning, she said, well, they're gonna take care of it. I said, when? Santa Claus is coming.
Okay.
What? You know, and, Mr.
Was
Falk-
it picked up?
Mr. Falk called.
Okay.
He took care of it, but when I go to Walmart and I get home and got a rusty piece,
Okay.
head of lettuce, I can call Walmart and say, hey, we got a problem. They say, bring your receipt, the lettuce back, and get a new head, right, or get your money back. You cannot get a hold of Waste Management.
If you can't, we're going to move on, but if you can't get a hold of them, call up here to the office and make a report, and we'll take care of it. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. And the last resident that spoke was Fred Crack, and speaking about asking the Board of Commissioners to author a letter to ask for the permit status of Tinker's Run, and we will discuss that, Mr. Crack, and we will discuss the commissioners doing that. Thank you. Thanks for the information. Okay, moving on. Approval of minutes for the special meeting dated July 13th, 2023.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approved. Payment of bills.
I would make a motion to pay voucher number 23755 to voucher number 23792 and voucher number 24755 to voucher number 24780, with the exception of voucher number 23788 for $60,000 to Firefly Drone Shows LLC. That is on the agenda later on to discuss. And I would be personally opposed to us paying $60,000 before we actually have a drone show.
Is there a second?
I'm going to second that.
Yeah.
Any questions on the motion?
Just to clarify, all but 25788, because that is on the agenda for us to approve later tonight.
All but 23788.
Okay, and my question is, why is there a gap between our vouchers?
I do not know. I'd have to ask our accountant and find out why.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. President,
Yes.
we only did one meeting, right? Approve the minutes for one?
Did I
Or
skip
did
the
we
one?
do
Yes.
that?
Yes. Approval of minutes for the regular meeting, July 19th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioner Gray. I missed that. Staff reports, Public Works report. Director Elbert, anything to add?
I don't have much of substance other than, we're still working on getting our roads prepared for paving. From my understanding, the paving contractor, hopefully will be in sometime at the beginning of next month, September. So we're doing some finishing up of getting everything ready for them to come in. There shouldn't be any issues pertaining to having everything prepared for those guys to come. Other than that, I don't want to get too much into it. We discussed it last Thursday at the meeting. I put a little bit more effort into trying to get the site prepared for our 250th birthday celebration that's coming up here at the end of September. So that time it's coming fast, and so I thought, boy, we better get on my high horse here and get some things cleaned up down there, and it is coming along quite well, so I'm pleased with that, and I'm sure you'll be pleased. Unfortunately, maybe some of you haven't seen it down there prior to us doing some of the cleanup and some of the things that we're doing to really get an impact on, how good it's progressing, so. But, we have a ton of work on our plate, and we're just taking it as we come and doing the best we can with what we have to work with.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Director Elbert?
I do, just a real quick one. How we doing on the weeds along the line of sight on the roads? We getting those chopped down a little bit?
We haven't, unfortunately.
Okay.
I do have some good news to report. Our roadside vegetation tractor is up and running as of today. So unfortunately, our 30-year-old roadside tractor that we had was damaged, and we're going through insurance. That was prior to this, the start of the season. Kind of hard to get parts these days, and especially for a 30-year-old tractor. Well, our good tractor, our 20-year-old tractor, unfortunately, the motor had some major motor issues here right at the beginning of the season. And, our mechanic has been working diligently trying to get that thing back on the road. And again, it's a 20-year-old tractor. There's parts available. It's just getting them because of, it seems like, as we all know, since this pandemic, it's hard to get things and you have to wait. So we did rent a tractor. I rented a tractor back in June to try to get caught up on some of the areas. Most of the sites were at end of roads, intersections where there is visibility issues. Of course, that was only 1 month, and that's all I could rent it for. It was $8,000 just for 1 month. So, and then they were willing to give me an extra week at $3,200. And I don't spend the taxpayers' money any different than I'd spend my own money. I was like, are you out of your mind? So, unfortunately, we've had to go the majority of the summer months here without a roadside vegetation. But again, I'm happy to say that as of today, it's back running and it'll be on the road tomorrow. So
Thank you. Okay. Great. Thanks.
Well, we have a lot of catching up to do, and
Yeah. Thank you.
sure.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to say I have been down at your site multiple times, and I was down there over last weekend, and it looks incredible. Like, I'm excited to see what it's going to look like here come the end of September.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you were able to stop down. And in the last couple of days, we were able to continue to, do some more work. And it's coming along. And that gives opportunity in the future to be able to use it. We have a beautiful piece of property down there. And whatever you folks decide you want to do with it at some point in time, or however you want to use it, it's more readily available for whatever your choices are.
Thank you. Anything else for Director Elbert? Okay, Parks and Recreation Report. Director Miller is not here. Does anyone have any comments on his report?
I was just going to ask Mr. Miller if we've had any issues with dogs since we've changed the ordinance. Manager Falk, do you know the answer to that?
Not that I'm aware of. I have not received any complaints, and Director Miller has not notified me of any complaints.
Okay, just wanted to follow up on that to see how it was going.
Thank you. Anything else? Police report, Chief Rizzo.
Nothing to add to a report, but I do have a few things. Tomorrow, 3 to 5 in Irwin Park, Representative Dunbar's office put together a bad plate kind of day between us and the Irwin Police. There's going to be staff on hand from Representative Dunbar's office, officers to sign off on the plates. Staff will take care of the paperwork. So that's going to run for 2 hours from 3 to 5 tomorrow in Irwin Park. So it's anybody that has damaged, peeling, unreadable plates, that's a good time to stop down. We do get a lot of walk-ins in the station, so hopefully tomorrow people can stop down and get that taken care of at a kind of a one-stop shop. Also, last week we completed the Junior Police Academy. I was told, starting it off, it was one of the higher numbers that we've had. It went really, really well. We had good weather, and graduation was nice, and it was a good conclusion to the end of a good week. So, some big fall events planned. I know they got a bunch of stuff that they want to do. Again, Carving with a Cop. They want to try to do a second level for the Adult Police Academy, for the graduates to come back and get more technical phase of things. So there's some stuff that they're planning coming up in the fall. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief? Thanks, Chief. I don't see the emergency management coordinator here, so no emergency management report. Engineering report. Planning and zoning. Any questions on the fire officials report? Subdivision and land development, Director Fonzie.
Yes, there are 4 items set for your approval tonight. The first is Site Plan 2, 2016, Huntington Marketplace 4. This is action to approve the office building, the annex building that was discussed last week. This motion does not include the multi-tenant building or the subdivision that was discussed. Those 2 items will be handled later in this year. So this is solely the 4-story annex building that was discussed. Requesting board action to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And the key word there was the 4-story building, right?
Yes.
That's what we were talking about last week, giving a waiver on. I have a few points on that. I know Commissioner Gass brought up that he had spoken with the the Hampton Inn and the Holiday Inn, and they're both over the 50 feet, I think.
Holiday Inn was 3.5 with their tower, their parapet, went
Right.
up to 4. Hampton was at 5.
Right. But I think that's not a valid argument because it doesn't border residential property and it wasn't reviewed under the shopping center ordinance. I know Commissioner Stump had said that she liked on the planning commission when it was approved, the shopping center, I think you said when it was approved that you wanted it to be like South Point, the South Point philosophy, and where you could live, work, and shop all within walking distance. Do we have that anywhere around here? I mean, to me, I recall that being part of the Smart Growth Partnership. Wasn't that their agenda to do that?
Smart growth does have smart growth principles, and, but to get back to what I had commented on before, my comment was before Lincoln Hills was developed into housing, the Planning Commission was hoping that that would be developed into a project like South Point. And in South Point, you have the bottom row of your stories is usually retail or restaurant, and they're small, like hair salons, little eateries, etc. And then you have either office space above that or residential condos above that. And it is a place where you can walk from your residence to your job to your retail or to your restaurants. so that you don't have to get into your car. And yes, that's one of the things that Smart Growth likes to encourage is a traditional neighborhood development, or what's called a TND. But here, I could see that what was proposed was a lot like what we originally wanted whenever Lincoln Hills was proposed. And the back part, I'm personally in favor of this because after seeing the rear elevation, only really the top 1.5 stories is going to be visible
Right now.
right now. And you already can see where the urban air is being built. You can clearly see the top of that. And Lincoln Hills has views of other commercial and high story buildings, like you said, the hotels. So.
I know Commissioner Zona had asked if the building was going to be glass. I was curious, was your concern about light pollution or people seeing in or out of the building?
You're asking me?
Yes.
No, I just wanted to see what that backside was gonna look like, just on the outside, the physical feature of it,
Okay.
to make sure it wasn't a concrete block wall.
Okay.
That was my concern.
I know Ryan spoke up for the residents and said the reason the shopping center ordinance was passed was to protect the Lincoln Hills residents. And I kind of feel like we're not doing that right now by allowing, I mean, you said if we add a 4th story to it, it has to be set back another 30 feet.
It would be pushed further into the site towards Mills Drive to accommodate the 130-foot setback that would be required by the shopping center ordinance.
Okay.
And I was here on the planning commission when we approved the shopping center ordinance, and I should say recommended the shopping center ordinance. And the point of that was so that we could not have big box structures like giant rectangles, so that like a store like Walmart would have pretty architectural features. It didn't have anything to do with Lincoln Hills. It had to do with we did not want just big boxes in the township.
Okay.
And Ryan, please tell me, how is that zoned? C1, right? Okay, and a C1, for what it's worth, Hilton can come in under C1 and build an 8-story hotel. Now, I propose this. I think the residents that see the backside of the rear elevation, where the trees are 31 feet above right now, and the building that tops out at 54, would rather see a 1.5 stories, that's what's above the tree line, than they would to see an 8-story building. That's why I am for this. I don't want to see Hilton come in and put an 8-story building in there. I don't want that to negatively impact the residents. But a 4-story with almost 2/3 of that already covered by trees, and as those trees grow, that 3rd story is going to be gone, and soon thereafter, a 4-story is going to be gone. That building within about 4 or 5 years will be basically invisible during this season of growth, minus the winter season, but we've already addressed that through the use of evergreens like arborvitae and hemlock, which will cover that up, and we can fill the gaps with those.
In addition to the hotels, there's also Express Scripts right there, which is a pretty large facility. So it's
Yes.
not just what Mr. Tarosky is trying to propose up on the hill, but there are other commercial buildings.
It's in the sight line.
Correct.
Right, even though it's not part of the Walmart facility, it is in the sight line. And so I'm going to stick with I'm in favor of. Thank you.
And since we have Mr. Tarosky here, can you clarify, most commercial buildings that are glass, they use that dark shaded glass. and you have blinds in the windows. Would you anticipate a lot of light coming out of that back of the building towards Lincoln Hills?
Most office goes home at 5, so I don't anticipate those users on those higher floors spilling into the residential.
Okay, thank you.
And if you want to speak to the history, since you were here with Cohen back in the day.
Can you speak up, sir? I can't hear you.
Back in the day
Thank you.
when the shopping center ordinance was drafted, you were here, weren't
Right.
with Alan Cohen.
Right,
And you remember DeBartolo sued the township
right.
because of that, because it was a spot zone piece of property. And you've used it elsewhere, right, with other properties, the shopping center ordinance? With Lincoln Corner, have you used it? No. You've used it for no other property?
Just the Walmart and the Huntington Marketplace. The whole Mills Point development before that was subdivided and became Walmart.
Okay. To the point of history, the reason they did, obviously, it was spot zoned. That's why I wanted to bring that up, that it was able to be used elsewhere. And that's the point of the shopping center ordinance, is to keep this, beautified as Eric has demonstrated for me, so.
Anything
Thank
else
you.
from the board?
My question was gonna be the same, do we use the shopping center ordinance anywhere else? I'm guessing that's a no. Is there like an official, did the board taken any official action at some point saying that this property is going to be zoned under this shopping center ordinance?
It's just if it meets the requirements of 75,000 square feet of retail and at least 3 acres in size, then it would apply.
Do we have other places in the township that would apply, that we're not enforcing it?
We haven't had it with new development, no.
Lincoln Corner.
Lincoln
didn't-
Corner was under 3 acres and under 75,000 square feet.
The two buildings together. were less
Correct.
than 3 acres.
It's like a little over 2 acres, 2.151 acres.
Interesting.
And did we not talk that you, Mr. Tarosky, you said you would agree that the next lot over where you're gonna put that other smaller strip will be governed by the shopping center
That is why
ordinance?
Ryan and I decided to leave that behind for
Okay.
your review and consideration later.
Okay. And just on the talk of other buildings in that area, I think where the difference is, this, Ryan is saying that this area is governed by the shopping center ordinance, where the hotels are and where the Express Scripts, they're not in that same area, so that doesn't apply. I think that's comparing two different things. Any other comments? There's a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
The second item is Subdivision 11, 2023, the Lions Bodeye subdivision, requesting board action to approve the subdivision on Myers Lane.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Questions on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next is Site Plan 6 of 2023, the Cleveland Price parking expansion. Action to approve a parking lot on State Route 993.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Questions on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, and this last one, I want to bring up an image on the screen. This is PRD 2 of 2023, the Stonegate PRD. And last week, we had the public hearing where the adjoining resident was speaking about the 50-foot buffer strip that would be behind his house. He recently purchased at the cul-de-sac on Hemlock Drive in Woodridge Estates Phase 1, and that's down here. So after that meeting, the residents talked with the engineer, John Sepp, and the owner, Mr. Pasquarelli, and what they came up with is what you see in red. And there's already what they call an environmentally sensitive lot, which is going to be owned by the HOA. It's a non-buildable lot. You can't do anything on it. There's wetlands, there's a culvert, there's water. So what they wanted to do was actually add this 50-foot buffer strip, as you could see it coming around the development and encompassing this other wetland here, and then making that all one lot. So when the HOA purchases it, there's language in the deed that's going to say it's non-buildable and it's to remain a buffer. So that was just a way to kind of capture that concern of the resident that, you know, the future owner of this estate lot can't throw a shed in there or driveway or something. So it kind of keeps it a vegetated buffer. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's going to be part of this tentative approval, and they're going to update the subdivision plan when they come back through final to record this as its own lot. So I just want to make you all aware of that. But I'm requesting the board action to tentatively approve this PRD with this new information.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Questions on the motion?
Is the resident pleased with the new arrangements?
Yes, I just spoke to him this afternoon, so they worked it out together. They were happy with it.
Okay, very good. I'm on board. Thank you.
Ryan, who takes care of that red buffer strip? that
The
has
HOA
the-
is responsible for that maintenance.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Solicitors report. Solicitor Alexander.
Thank you. There is one action item on the solicitor's report for this month. It is an action to adopt proposed ordinance number 3 of 2023 of the Township of North Huntington, Westmoreland County, establishing speed limits for certain designated roads in North Huntington and designating areas covered by said speed limits, and to be incorporated into the code known as the Vehicles and Traffic Codes of North Huntington Township.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Questions on the motion?
So there are speed limits that are posted currently. Chief, please add into this that are below 25 mile an hour. Is that correct at this time in this township?
There are.
And is that viable? Does that support a police officer sitting on those streets being able to ticket said speeders on a road below 25 mile an hour? Or is the 25 mile an hour used as the overall standard marker for all streets?
Yeah, as it was discussed, the vehicle code says 25 as the standard for those areas, and then I'd have to look. I don't have it directly in front of me, and I know it's been vetted by our engineers who did a lot of the study, and that's how it came about, back to you. So yeah, 25 miles an hour is that speed limit that's designated in, I think it's 3362, I believe is the section. Am I correct?
Yeah, I have a copy of it here.
Okay,
Because I'm
good.
very familiar too, but it's 3362, yeah.
Okay.
It's 25 miles per hour in a residential district.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just going to be, we're going to be standardized now.
Right, so basically we're
covering the
bringing
vehicle
every
code.
sign up to 25 mile an hour.
Yeah.
So it's an enforceable, trafficable.
Correct. Yes,
It's
under
such a-
30, under section 3362.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate the clarification.
As someone who lives on a road that is going to be affected by this, as well as, my entire neighborhood, I never want to see speed limits raised, but in a residential area, but if this gives us the means that we need, then, it's a necessary evil as far as I see it.
I agree with you. I agree.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And that concludes the solicitor's report for this month.
Thank you. Managers report. Manager Falk.
Action to approve the July check register.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
You have a copy of the budget report dated July 2023. Are there any questions? Seeing none, moving on. Action to advertise ordinance number 2292, accepting the dedication to public use certain roads known as Cornwall Drive and Derby Court in the Willow Estates Plan of Lots Phase 3 and 4.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Action to approve resolution number 121 of 2023, adopting the 2023 North Huntington Township Comprehensive Plan dated August 16th, 2023.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? I think we'd be remiss if we didn't thank all of those on our steering committee that dedicated a lot of time to this. And I'd start out with Carolyn Yeagle. Thank you for your leadership. As I said, I was at every one of those meetings, and you are a true leader. You led that team, and you were dedicated, and you showed a lot of hard work and dedication. I'd like to thank you. We'll thank the whole team, which consisted of Tom Kerber, Eric Cassidy, Fran Bevan, who is here today. Thank you, Fran. Wayne Wasowich, Sam Bray, Sherry Laska, Jerry Haddock, Ryan Fonzie, and Harry Falk. Thank you all for your hard work and a lot of hours that you put in, and you came up with a great product, I believe, and I think the board all is in consensus. So thank you. No comments or questions on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Action to approve the memorandum of understanding between North Huntington Township and the Norwin School District outlining the roles and responsibilities of DARE officers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions on the motion?
Chief, could you give the folks of the township a brief
Yeah,
on what that
absolutely.
means, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
all this is in basic terms is it's an agreement between township and the school district, and it just outlines what Officer Anna Jandrick's responsibilities are going to be when she is in the schools teaching DARE, that she's not a school resource officer, that she's actually a DARE officer, and it kind of outlines her responsibilities with the school district. So after tonight, if the board adopts the memorandum, I will then take the memorandum over to school administration. They'll review it. If no changes are going to be needed at this point, then it would go to the school district for adoption of the memorandum. It's not very complicated. It just basically talks about her, remaining under as a police officer, and it kind of talks about the limits that she can and can't do when she's working within the district. So that's what it is.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Action to promote Dan Foster and Mark Hamilton to the position of sergeant with the North Huntington Township Police Department.
So
Motion.
moved.
Second.
Questions on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Action to release the insurance escrow for 7673 Dominic Drive in the amount of $32,360.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Action to enter into an agreement with Westmoreland County governing the use of CDBG funds for the North Huntington Municipal Authority for residential lateral sanitary sewer replacement.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Questions on the motion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Action to enter into an agreement with Firefly Drone Show for the 250th summer celebration as the sole source vendor in the amount not to exceed $60,000.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Questions on the motion?
Yes, I have a question on this. Did we attempt to get competitive bids on this?
Director Miller did contact, I believe, 3 or 4 agencies that does do this nationwide. I believe this group was, of course, the cheapest, but they are out of Michigan or Wisconsin, I believe. It's a very, how do you want to say it? Specialty.
And there weren't any local companies, like out of Pittsburgh or
Not that he was aware of, no.
out of Pennsylvania? Okay.
How long is that drone show going on, that specific night that it does go?
It is going to go on Saturday night. There's about 300 drones, and I believe it's going to be about 8 to 10 minutes long. Don't quote me on that, but it's
300?
Dan told me 12.
12 minutes? Okay.
12 minutes.
Yeah. But 300 drones in the air.
That's a lot of money. This isn't Skynet, is it? You guys following? No?
And I
Yeah.
would like to, and I would like to remind the board that we did receive a significant portion
He just gonged you.
of sponsorship money to fund this.
Have we received that,
All right.
or? yet?
No, according to the agreement, we'll have 2 payments, and this, 1 payment this month and 1 payment next month, I believe.
And those are the donations toward this?
That is the sponsorship.
Specific, the sponsorship.
Yes.
Do we have any idea the value, the numerical value, monetary value of that sponsorship, of those 2?
I don't know if I'm at liberty to release that. I would have to refer that to the solicitor, just to double check.
Is there any reason why it would be confidential? I mean, was it anonymously donated? I mean,
No, it was sponsored, Jim Shorkey, Kia's donated, or sponsored a significant portion of it. I don't have the agreement in front of me if there's any confidentiality clause, but they did donate a significant portion, enough to cover this cost.
okay, so it's enough to cover the cost.
Yes.
I appreciate that answer, I really, really do, and I know for a lot of folks that are concerned, you see a $60,000 bill in front of us. They're paying for that 60,000, we're paying for that 60,000, are we getting our money's worth? And blessings to the Shorkey for doing that if they are covering the cost of this. That is very, very nice. I want everybody to know it's not coming from us or you. So it
And-
is said.
I would just like to add, if it's not coming from us, why wasn't this paid for directly by the corporate sponsor?
I did not handle that negotiation, Director Miller did, and so I do not have a response for that.
And so do we have a written contract?
We do have a written contract with Jim Shorkey for this event.
Do we have a written contract with Firefly Drone Show?
We do, yes.
Okay, and I guess if the Shorkeys would not pay this bill, would the township be stuck with it?
If the board wanted to continue with it, yes, per the recommendation of the Recreation Committee.
Because we don't have any money paid yet towards this 60,000.
We do not. And the board did approve a budget for programs this year, an increase of a budget from $75,000 up to $250,000 to include the program cost of the 250th celebration.
So are we within budget?
We are within budget thus far. Including this.
But this is a binding contract already made with Shorkey with the township, yes?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
But
So basically, we need not, I don't want to take your fire, Virginia, but basically, we should need not worry that us taxpayers are going to get levied with the $60,000 bill.
Correct.
Thank you.
But we have not yet entered into a contract with the Firefly Drone Show. That's what this motion is.
Yes, we did enter into a contract with the drone show.
So we're retroactively approving this contract?
The motion is
Yes.
to pay it,
Okay.
to pay the bill, correct?
Correct.
It says action to
Well-
enter into an agreement.
Yeah, that's how I worded it. So yes, it would be retroactive.
Okay.
Because we did that, the committee did enter into an agreement with the drone show. And thus far, they are under budget.
Any other questions?
I would just like to go on record as saying that I'm not in favor of us entering into contracts. And number one, unless they're competitively bid for this amount, and without the board's concurrence for future expenditures.
I would guess that there's many contracts that were entered for this celebration. We have a carnival coming in with rides and everything. I'm sure there was a contract signed for that, right?
Yes, the board did approve that earlier this year by a separate motion.
Any other questions on the motion? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
That is the end of my report.
Thank you, Manager Falk. Any further board comments?
Yes, I have two. One, I would like us as a board to send a letter of condolence to Plum Borough as they just lost two of their members. And second, I would like a thank you letter to go to each member who was on the ad hoc commission for our long-range comprehensive plan, just so they have something in writing thanking them.
Board okay with that, all that? Yeah, good, good. Jason, you have something?
It's more of a question for Commissioner, or for Manager Falk. Do we have an update on McKee Road?
At Lions Park.
Oh, yes,
Lions
we
Park.
do. The PennDOT LTAP. PennDOT did come in with technical assistance. They reviewed the road, provided the report that was shared with the board. We added signage on both sides of the road of closer to the crosswalk, indicating there's pedestrian crossing with a downward arrow. And we also made the crosswalk wider so when people are crossing from or crossing the street on McKee Road, they'll actually cross in the crosswalk itself. And it's thermoplastic or thermo-painted paint, so it lasts longer, and there's some reflective, it's reflective. So yes, we did make the appropriate changes according to the recommendations of PennDOT.
Awesome, thank you very much.
I'd like to ride on what Jason's saying. Is it not a state law? If a pedestrian is in the walkway, it is the law that the automobile individual will stop. Not should, but will stop. Yes or no?
It's like a game show. Yes or no?
It is not.
I'd have to read it. I obviously don't have a vehicle code in front of me, so I'm going to say yes.
I believe it is state law.
It is the obligation of the motorist to heed to the pedestrian in the walk. That being said, it's not wise to openly step into a crosswalk and believe that the motorist is going to stop.
Amen, brother. It's two different things.
Exactly.
Right. I
So,
know.
yeah, that's obviously a concern, and that's why you want to well mark those crosswalks down there, so.
But it is a citable offense to the
I
auto
would
driver.
believe so, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Thank you.
Any other board comments? I do have a few, and this is just, I'm throwing it out there, food for thought. I'd actually like to get these on the agenda for next month. I just wanted everybody to be aware of it. The first thing is if you look down in downtown Irwin, down Main Street, they have those metal benches that people buy and put names on them. I think we can do that in our parks. I know a lot of the parks don't even have any benches in them. So I'd like to, and I wanted to talk to Director Miller about it, but he's not here, so that's why I'd like to bring it up next month. But I think we can get into that, and I bought one in Irwin, and I know you go and you buy the whole bench and you put whatever name plaque you want on it in memory of somebody. I think that'd be nice, and we can put them, like at Indian Lake, we can put them around a trail where people can sit down. I think there's like 1 or 2 benches at Indian Lake Park right now, and it's just not enough seating, so I think that would be a nice gesture. I think people would buy those, and then we'd make a little money maybe. The second thing I was looking at, and again, we don't even have to discuss this tonight, I want to throw it out there, but I wanted to look at, I think it was done in the past here on the Board of Commissioners, is assigning each department a commissioner that is like the liaison for that department. So somebody would be the liaison for the road department, for Public Works. Somebody would be liaison for Police Department, Parks and Rec. I think the reason I'm looking at that, I think that alleviates, I think that's going on is a lot of the commissioners reach out to the department directors and ask them to do tasks for them and that. I think that would alleviate that if there's a liaison on each department. Somebody in charge of like administrative up here if there's questions up here. So that's just a thought I had, and I'd like to get it on the agenda for next week. I just want to throw it out there for people to think it over.
I have one question. Does that mean that a commissioner would have to go to another commissioner to get to the department head to have a task completed?
Absolutely not. I think the main thing.
I want to finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I was on the board when we eliminated that, because there was a police commissioner, there was a fire department commissioner, public works, I think it was Angelo, right? Yeah, there were commissioners for every department, or almost, only the important departments. And it led people to believe that they had more authority in that department, and it leads to trouble. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and I can see that, and I know there was issues in the past with that, and that wouldn't be my plan at all. My plan would be, that's no more power. If there's an issue with that department, that commissioner can look into that issue or discuss it with the involved individuals.
That's not a commissioner's job, that's the
Well, Rich, we have commissioners
administration.
doing it now. I don't know if it's you, but I can name commissioners that call department directors directly.
Okay,
I mean, it happens every day here. And I know they get tasked with doing things for commissioners, which shouldn't be happening, but it
I
happens.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Well,
That's why, that's what this may eliminate.
we eliminated that, commissioners in a department, for that reason. Then everything, we should all be clear, it should go through Harry.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, I'm just throwing that out there. We can discuss it again.
Yeah, I'm okay with putting it on the agenda for more discussion, but I might be mistaken. But in the first township class code, it's not broken down that way. I believe in other class township codes, it's written down that members of the board or their commissions are delegated different responsibilities. But I think the first township class code doesn't include that.
Yeah, you're correct, because I reviewed it. It doesn't spell it out. It doesn't say you can't do it, but it doesn't say that, that's not the way that it's structured, correct? But there's nothing in there that says that it can't be done. So, okay, any other further board comments? Seeing none?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Executive session will follow for legal issues. The time is 8:37.